Hey guys, tonight we're stepping barefoot into the wild, tangled heart of the Philippines, where ancient healing isn't something you swallow or stitch, but something sung, something whispered through leaves, something woven into the breath of the forest itself. You're not lying on a massage table. You're crouched beside a smoky fire, and an old man in a feathered headdress is chanting over your pulse. The jungle watches. The stars lean closer. You probably won't survive this with your modern worldview intact. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. I love seeing where we're dreaming together from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing at the edge of a highland village in Ifugao province, where clouds hang low and thick, as if the mountain is dreaming with you. That hut you're facing, narrow steps, a woven bamboo exterior, and faint smoke curling from its thatched peak, belongs to the Mumbaki, the traditional shaman healer. And tonight, someone is sick. Not sick in the way you're used to. This is deeper, slower, the kind of illness that creeps in between heartbeats, the kind that doesn't show up on an x-ray but steals your laughter and your appetite all the same. Inside, the Mumbaki kneels cross-legged beside the patient, a teenage boy lying still under a thin hand-woven blanket. The boy's breath is shallow, his cheeks are flushed, his soul, they believe, may have wandered. And so the ritual begins. The Mumbaki lifts a hand-carved wooden bowl and tips a ladle of rice wine onto the floor with a quiet murmur. It's an offering, not for you or the boy, but for the Anito, the spirits of ancestors who might be listening. Then comes the singing. It's not a melody you'd hum. It doesn't rhyme. It doesn't repeat. It rises and falls like the wind in pine needles, part lullaby, part command. The language is old, maybe Kankanaey or Ifugao dialect, definitely not something you'd find on Duolingo. The song names the boy's ancestors, calls them to help, pleads for the return of whatever part of him has gone missing. Here's your mainstream fact. These healing chants, sometimes called hudhud, have been sung for centuries across the Cordillera Mountain region. UNESCO even designated them as part of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. But you wouldn't need a plaque to know this is sacred. You feel it in your chest, each syllable vibrating in the air like a tuning fork for your nervous system. The Mumbaki begins to wave leaves over the boy's body. Not just any leaves. Laoyan, known for its cooling properties. Or maybe guava leaves, prized for cleansing. You can't always tell. The jungle has so many secrets disguised as foliage. Each leaf is slightly warm from the fire, and the healer presses them gently to the boy's limbs, as if trying to remind the body what it feels like to be whole. Outside, dogs howl once and go quiet. A gecko chirps in the thatched beams. The night is thick and scented with smoke, lemongrass, and something metallic. Maybe the scent of ritual itself. Here's your fringe tidbit. Some believe that when a Mumbaki sings long enough, the words can form a kind of rope. Not a metaphorical one, a real, invisible tether that stretches into the unseen world, helping guide the patient's spirit home. Historians still argue whether this belief emerged independently or was influenced by neighboring animist practices across Southeast Asia. Personally, I think humans everywhere invent the same metaphors when we're desperate not to lose someone. The boy stirs, just a twitch of his fingers. Nothing dramatic, but the Mumbaki smiles. The chant slows, shifts to something softer, a song of return. He sprinkles herbs onto the fire now, maybe kamangyan or dried citrus peel, and the smoke changes color slightly, bluing with mystery. You glance around the hut. Simple, sparse. A few tools hung from the beams. A woven basket filled with folded palm fronds. A family crouched nearby, watching, silent. No machines, no needles. Just song, smoke, leaf, and faith. You think about how far away this is from everything you know, and yet something about it feels oddly familiar. Like a lullaby you almost remember. Like a rhythm you might have dreamed once. The ritual ends not with applause or pronouncement, but with a bowl of soup passed around the fire. Warm, gingery, laced with green things you can't name. The boy sips. His mother exhales for the first time in hours. And the Mumbaki? He just hums a little and begins sweeping the ashes from the ritual into a small woven pouch. Tomorrow, he'll scatter them near the riverbank. Let the earth finish what the voice began. You step outside, the air cool on your skin. Somewhere an owl calls. The village sleeps again, and so do you. You wake slowly, as if the forest itself has wrapped you in a blanket of mist and birdsong. The light is soft early, sun barely kissing the tops of the trees. You stretch, hear your joints pop just slightly, and glance over at the now quiet hut. The fire's gone out. Smoke lingers like a sleepy thought that forgot to leave. This morning, the Mumbaki isn't singing. He's gathering leaves. You trail him at a respectful distance. He hasn't spoken a word to you, but somehow you know you're welcome to watch, so long as you stay quiet and don't step on anything sacred, which in this place could be everything. He stops near a patch of tall shrubs, crouches, and runs his fingers along a vine, then another. His eyes scan the forest floor like it's a map only he can read. Then, there it is, a low whistle, and he parts the brush to reveal a cluster of waxy green leaves shaped like little shields. Lagundi. Here's your mainstream fact. Lagundi, also called Vitex negundo, has been used in Filipino folk medicine for generations to treat coughs, fevers, asthma, and even minor wounds. The Philippine Department of Health even endorses it as a legitimate herbal remedy. But that's not why the Mumbaki smiles. He doesn't care about government lists. To him, the plant isn't a remedy, it's a relationship. He plucks the leaves carefully with two hands, murmuring something you can't catch. A thank you, a request, both maybe. The forest isn't a supermarket. You don't just take. You ask, you listen, you give back. Now comes the strange part. He places the leaves into a small pouch and ties it with a strip of woven bark. Then he hums. Not the same chant from last night. This is lighter, airier, almost playful. You could swear the leaves shift a little in response, but maybe that's just the breeze. He nods to himself, then turns and walks back toward the village, never once checking to see if you're following. When he reaches the edge of the clearing, he meets an old woman. Barefoot, skin like crumpled silk, wearing a faded wrap skirt and a tapis cloth slung across her shoulder. She has a raspy cough and dark hollows under her eyes. They sit. No words exchanged, just presence. The Mumbaki opens the pouch, lays the Lagundi leaves on a wooden plate, and crushes them with a smooth stone, mixing in something that smells like coconut and something else faintly peppery. He hums the whole time. That same drifting tune, like wind following the shape of the hills. And then, you won't believe this part, he presses the paste to her chest and begins to sing into her skin. Not over it, into it. Like his voice is a balm, and the melody can seep through the pores, find the illness where it hides, and coax it out like a frightened animal. You can't make out the words, but the rhythm settles in your ribs. It's almost embarrassing how soothing it is. Here's your quirky tidbit. In some rural Filipino traditions, healing songs are taught only through dreams. Shamans might claim a particular melody was given to them by a spirit, ancestor, or even the forest itself. That means no two chants are ever exactly the same. They're not memorized, they're remembered. Historians still argue whether these dream songs are ancient fragments passed down through oral tradition or spontaneous compositions drawn from deep cultural memory. Either way, you won't find them in any karaoke bar. The woman's breathing slows. Her eyes flutter closed. She doesn't fall asleep exactly. More like she sinks, as if the ground has softened beneath her, holding her in place while the music does its work. Then the Mumbaki stops. He gathers the remaining leaves and buries them beside a banana tree. Not a dramatic gesture, just a quiet return. One life helping another. No prescription pad, no copay. You find yourself glancing at your own hands, wondering how many plants you've passed in your life without ever seeing them, without asking them their names. Here, everything has a name and a role. And everything, even illness, has a story. The Mumbaki finally turns to you. His eyes are not unkind. He reaches into his satchel, pulls out a flat, round leaf with jagged edges, and presses it to your chest with a gentle thump. Just for balance, he says. You nod, not quite understanding, but also you feel better. Not healthier exactly, just real, present, like you've returned to yourself after drifting a little too far. And that's the point, isn't it? These rituals aren't about fixing in the way we think of medicine. They're about reweaving, repairing the thread between body, spirit, forest, and song. You break a connection, you sing it back into place. You spend the rest of the day in quiet awe, watching, listening, letting your heartbeat align with the sway of the bamboo. In the distance, a rooster crows. Someone starts pounding rice with a wooden pestle, and overhead, the sun slides slowly across a sky that seems much wider than it did before. Later that evening, the air turns syrupy, heavy with heat and promise. You sit under a low thatched roof with woven walls so thin you can hear every rustle of palm leaves outside. Night creeps in softly, carrying the buzz of insects and the occasional bark of a dog echoing from somewhere unseen. The Mumbaki is preparing again. Same robe, different objects. This time it's not lagundi he handles, but a curious set of plants with wide, forked, velvety leaves and dark stems that stain his fingers deep green. These are alabungag leaves, and they shimmer faintly in the torchlight as if they're not entirely from this world. A young girl sits cross-legged before him, eyes wide. She's not sick, at least not in the way the old woman was. She looks more troubled. Her shoulders hunch, like the air itself is too heavy to carry. A curse? A fear? A bad dream that stuck to her skin? You inch closer, careful not to snap any twigs or interrupt the process. The girl holds out her hands. The Mumbaki places a small clump of crushed alabungag into her palms, then covers them with his own. And then the singing begins again. This song is different, lower, slower. It trembles like a shadow stretched too long at dusk. The girl breathes in. Her lip quivers, her eyes brim, but no tears fall. Mainstream fact break. In ancient Filipino healing rituals, especially among the Tagbanua, Ifugao, and Visayan peoples, music was used to treat not just physical illness, but spiritual imbalances. Singing was a way to soothe sakit ng loob, or illness of the soul. That could mean anything from grief to a spiritual disturbance to simply having been insulted too deeply to recover without divine assistance. The Mumbaki draws a long breath and exhales it directly onto the girl's crown. Then he sings into her ears, one at a time, left, then right. You think to yourself, this is what headphones want to be when they grow up. And then it gets even more unexpected. The Mumbaki reaches for a bundle of dried leaves tied with a red string, tanglad, or lemongrass. He ignites the edge with a coal, then fans it gently. The scent rolls out in curls of citrus and spice, and you almost taste it in your mouth. He waves the smoke around her head, her arms, her knees. Not randomly, he traces careful patterns, like drawing invisible tattoos that only the spirits can read. The girl closes her eyes, and just like that, her body softens. The weight lifts, molecule by molecule. Here's your quirky detail. Some Filipino shamans believe that leaves can listen to the voice of the healer and adjust their medicinal potency depending on the purity of the chant. If a Mumbaki is distracted or out of tune, the leaves might refuse to activate. Try explaining that to your pharmacist. Historians still argue whether these rituals were ever truly meant for healing, or if they served more as spiritual theater, ways to rally the community, reaffirm belief, or simply comfort the afflicted through sensory ritual. But if you're sitting here, watching this child unravel her pain into song and leaf smoke, you'd be hard-pressed to call it anything but real. Once the ritual ends, the girl doesn't speak. She simply rises, clasps her hands, and bows deeply. The Mumbaki touches her forehead with his own, then sends her off with a whisper you don't hear. But whatever he says, it makes her walk taller. Her steps carry something lighter than when she arrived. You shift in your seat, now stiff from crouching. The Mumbaki notices and beckons. You obey without hesitation. He holds out a handful of crushed leaves, lets you smell them. They're sharp, earthy, remind you faintly of green mango skin and the scent of rain hitting stone. You expect him to hand them to you, or rub them on your temples, or maybe begin another of those dream songs. But he doesn't. He hands you a cup. The liquid inside is murky, pale yellow. You swirl it. The surface shines with flecks of something herbal, something possibly fermented, something that could either heal you or convince your intestines to stage a mutiny. Drink, he says. Of course you do. It tastes like leaf, yes, but also like memory, like something you forgot you knew. Warm, bitter, then sweet. Your chest flushes, your fingers tingle, your scalp feels like someone lit a candle on it. And then you still, not frozen, just deeply, weirdly present. A tree creaks outside and you can hear it sigh. A lizard skitters across a beam above you and you feel like you've known it for years. You breathe and you can actually feel the breath. The Mumbaki smiles. You're listening now, he says. You nod, you are. He tells you this brew is for clarity, for seeing the path, not the future exactly, more like cleaning your inner lens so you can finally see what's already right in front of you. In the background, a new song begins. This time it's not the Mumbaki, it's another elder, a woman. Her voice is softer, cracked around the edges, but full of bone-deep power. She sings not to a patient but to the fire itself. You realize something. Not every song is for a person. Some are for flame, for wind, for ancestors. For trees that have stood so long they deserve their own lullabies. The Mumbaki leans in close, and for the first time tonight, you hear him laugh. Not a loud laugh, just a short, quiet heh that says you're doing all right, even if you're totally lost. Especially because you're totally lost. That, after all, is where healing begins. The night deepens. Crickets thrum louder, frogs offer their throaty harmonies, and the jungle seems to lean in with its own breath, rustling low through the leaves. You lie back on the cool bamboo floor of the hut, the air sticky against your skin, a thin blanket barely needed. Everything around you smells like sweet grass, smoke, and something green you can't quite name, like the spirit of the forest is exhaling in slow, patient sighs. But sleep? Not quite yet. You hear chanting again, softer now. Different voice, different cadence, almost a whisper as if the words are meant to pass through you rather than be heard. This time it's not a Mumbaki who chants, but a woman with salt white hair and arms full of tattoos. The inky spirals wind down to her fingers, markings that took years to earn and even longer to read. This is a Babylon, a priestess, a healer, a conduit. She doesn't just sing to the spirits, she negotiates with them. You've stepped into one of the oldest Filipino healing traditions, where women once stood at the helm of community balance. Her presence shifts the energy of the room, like someone just opened a window into another dimension. Mainstream historical note. Before Spanish colonization, Babylons were powerful female shamans in many indigenous Filipino societies. They were caretakers of culture, medicine, and spirituality, often seen as equals or even superiors to the dadu or chieftains in certain matters. The Spanish, unsurprisingly, did not love this. She beckons you, not with her hands, but with her eyes. You sit up, still groggy from the last brew, but pulled forward like a moth to candlelight. She offers no introduction. Instead, she hands you a bundle of dried banana leaves, tied at both ends with strands of grass. It looks ordinary, rustic even, but you can feel it hum in your palms. Open it, she says, voice like gravel wrapped in silk. Inside, tiny scraps of paper. One has your name on it. One bears a symbol you don't recognize, a jagged spiral drawn in soot. Spiritual poison, she mutters, pointing to the symbol. Bad thoughts, old sickness, this is what we pull out. She begins singing, not toward you, but to the bundle itself. The rhythm is gentle at first, then builds. She shakes a rattle over your head made from coconut shell and pebbles that sound like rainfall on a tin roof. Your body vibrates with it. Here's a quirky detail for your mental scrapbook. Some Babaylands believed certain leaves could trap illness if you wrote or whispered the name of the sickness onto them. These bundles were then buried, burned, or floated down rivers to take the illness far away. A tropical form of spiritual spam filtering. She presses a thumb to your forehead. Breathe, she whispers. And so you do. In through your nose. Out through your past mistakes. She holds the bundle close, sings louder now, half song, half spell, and you swear the banana leaves shift in your hand, warming from within. You can't tell if she's pulling something out of you or pushing something in. Either way, your chest lightens. The chanting slows. She takes the bundle back and sets it gently into the fire. Flames lick the leaves, and the symbol turns black, then disappears. You feel weird. But weird in that post-cry, post-spa, post-cry at a spa kind of way. Now the Babaylan brings out a bundle of green leaves bound in wet rope. This time the smell is unmistakable, sambong, a medicinal plant known for clearing lungs and curing coughs. But in this context, it has another use, drawing energy from your chest up to your crown. She crushes the leaves in her hands and begins rubbing them into your arms. Not gently. It's a firm, circular motion, like she's scrubbing away rust that's been there for decades. The coolness of the plant bites your skin, then soothes it. Your muscles twitch. You stifle a giggle. It tickles. She smirks. Laughter's part of the cure, she says. Historians still argue whether these tactile rituals were based on medical knowledge or purely symbolic gestures passed down through generations. But the result? Your shoulders drop a full inch. You hadn't realized you were carrying them so high. Suddenly, outside the hut, a gong rings. Low, long, reverberating. You freeze. The Babylon freezes. Even the fire seems to pause its crackle. She sets her tools down, eyes scanning the dark. That, she says, is for the moon. You follow her outside. There, around the central clearing, people begin to gather. Men, women, children, all wearing bright textiles and carrying leaves, some bald, some plaited, some woven into tiny animal shapes. They're placing them into a shallow wooden basin filled with water. Why, you ask yourself. But there's no time to answer. The singing begins again. This time, the whole village sings. A chorus rises under the stars. It's not in unison. Some are ahead, some lagging, but it doesn't matter. The voices weave like vines around each other. The Babylon raises her arms and begins a high chant, calling on the moon to see them. Mainstream fact break. Filipino animistic belief systems often revered the moon as a living, sentient being, sometimes a goddess, sometimes a guardian. Healing rituals were often timed with lunar phases. It was believed the moonlight could charge medicinal plants, especially when leaves were picked under full moons. You feel your own chest tremble again. This isn't just ceremony. It's community therapy. A shared song, a shared hope, a shared wish that whatever pain you hold might find release in the dark sky above. You look up. The moon peers out from behind a cloud, full and golden. And for a moment, it does seem like she's listening. The singing doesn't stop. It softens, shifts, meanders like a river rounding its bends. You stand in the circle, unsure whether you're a participant or just an oddly placed tourist in a dream. The gong has faded into memory, but the pulse it left behind still vibrates through your bones. That same water basin with the floating leaves now reflects the full moon in a gentle shimmer, the shapes casting dancing shadows on its surface. Someone presses a leaf-wrapped bundle into your hands. Again, what is it with bundles around here? This one's warm, heavier. You peek inside. Rice grains, tiny dried herbs, and a shiny bit of stone. A mix of healing and symbolism. For your body, a girl says beside you, probably no older than 12. Her teeth flash white in the dark. The others were for your spirit. You nod as if you totally understood that. The community begins to move, not in chaos, but like wind through grass, swaying into loose pairs and trios. Some sit cross-legged and hum. Others dance, slowly, their arms mimicking waves or birds. You find yourself mimicking them too, like a toddler at their first family party. Then you hear it. The first crack of a kubing, a bamboo jaw harp, played by plucking a thin reed with the finger. The sound is twangy, otherworldly, as if someone is trying to talk to you through a tree trunk. It rises and falls, syncopated with the chants, lulling your heartbeat into something both ancient and suspiciously like a lo-fi playlist. Mainstream historical moment. The kubing was used by various Filipino ethnic groups not only as an instrument, but as a form of communication, especially for courtship. A quiet conversation played across the air. Some said it could even lull the sick to sleep faster than prayer. If you're picturing musical ASMR, yeah, that's the vibe. Now a woman steps forward into the center of the circle. Her body is painted, white clay streaks on her arms, forehead, and shins. She carries something, a fan of fresh leaves, still damp, with a length of banana bark hanging from the edge like a ribbon. She turns in place slowly, letting everyone see. The Babaylan raises a hand and all noise falls away. The silence lands like thunder. You hold your breath. This, the Babaylan intones, is for the moon's hunger. Wait, what? She gestures to the woman, who begins dancing again, this time more fiercely. Her feet stomp into the ground, sending clouds of dust up around her. She swings the leaf fan in slow arcs, each movement a punctuation, a declaration, a demand. You can almost read the dance like a sentence. Take this offering, but leave our hearts whole. Here's your fringe trivia. Some northern Filipino tribes believed that the moon occasionally hungered for human energy, and when that happened, people grew ill, crops failed, dreams turned sour. The solution? Feed her with song, dance, and symbolic offerings. A spiritual snack break, if you will. You wonder whether this is symbolic, or if someone really thinks the moon might gobble up their luck if they don't throw a good enough party. Either way, it's captivating. Then suddenly, movement. The woman rushes forward and drops the leafy fan into the water basin. It lands with a delicate plop, floating just beside the glimmering moon reflection. A few people gasp, others clap softly. You? You feel the hair on your arms rise. A breeze stirs the trees. Now it's your turn, the Babaylan says behind you. Your mouth goes dry. What do I? She hands you a single leaf. It's glossy, green, smells like mint and basil had a baby. She nods toward the basin. Place it. Say nothing. You walk toward the water, the crowd parting without a word. You kneel. The leaf trembles in your fingers. And here's the thing. You feel like something's watching. Not in a creepy horror movie way, but like a teacher waiting to see if you remembered your lines. The leaf slips from your hand and lands on the water with the gentlest ripple. The moonlight shivers. Behind you, voices rise again. Not the Babaylans this time, but the group. A slow, swelling hum that wraps around your ears like warm silk. The sound doesn't build so much as expand, and like the sky stretching. You sit by the basin now, your legs folding under you like they've always done this. Historians still argue whether moon rituals like this were widespread, or if we've just pieced together fragments from missionary accounts and oral tradition. Some say it's been romanticized. Others say we've forgotten the true depth of what was lost. But here in this moment, nothing feels missing. You look at the floating leaves, yours, the fan, the tiny animal-shaped bundles, and realize this isn't about curing a cough or warding off a headache. This is about connection between people, between the past and the present, between yourself and something so old you can't name it. Then someone passes you a drink, of course. You raise the cup to your lips, the liquid bitter and floral. Lemongrass, ginger, banana stem. It coats your throat and makes your limbs relax like warm pudding. Your eyelids droop. The chanting gets softer. Someone is braiding a cord of vines beside you, weaving tiny beads into the twine with fingers quick and certain. The Babalan sits nearby, half shadowed in moonlight. Her eyes are closed, but you can tell she's not asleep, just listening, letting the earth speak through the soles of her feet. You don't speak either, but you feel something move inside you. Not dramatically, just a loosening, a knot unwinding like thread finally pulling through. And you sit there beside that basin of moon-fed leaves, under a sky humming with breath and memory, thinking maybe, just maybe, you've been healed. Your eyes blink open just enough to realize you haven't left the clearing. Somehow you've slumped into a pile of woven mats and leaf-cushioned shoulders. The chanting has faded to soft murmurs. Nearby, two children are humming to each other like it's the only language they've ever known. The fire is still crackling gently, sending curls of pale smoke up toward a sky now scattered with stars, some blinking, some pulsing, as if watching. And right in front of you, the Babaylan is preparing something new. It's a small bundle again. Of course it is. But this one is tighter, wrapped in banana leaf and bound with vine thread, no bigger than your fist. She lifts it to her lips, murmurs something so softly you can't tell if it's a prayer, a joke, or a grocery list. Then she sets it on a flat stone, sprinkles crushed petals over it, and pours a trickle of coconut water until it soaks through. This, she says aloud, is for the broken parts we cannot see. You raise an eyebrow. Oh, great, those parts. She glances at you. You know what I mean. You do. Emotional ouchies, the ones you hide behind busy schedules and ironic Instagram captions. Apparently they weren't fooling anyone. A few others are forming a half circle around the bundle. They don't speak. They just breathe, slow and deep, in unison. It's not spooky. It's more like being inside the world's calmest yoga class. If yoga included bundles, bug bites, and invisible ancestors watching from the treetops. The Babalan reaches into a pouch and pulls out a small blade, about the length of your pinky. Carved from bone, smooth by age, its surface is etched with swirls and dot patterns. She doesn't use it to cut anything. Instead, she gently presses it against her own palm, then lifts it to the stars. Mainstream fact incoming. In some indigenous Filipino healing traditions, it wasn't about bloodletting. It was about symbolic offerings, pressing blades to skin, whispering apologies to unseen forces, even tapping parts of the body where pain resided. A performance of sincerity for the spirits believed to be listening in. You notice now that the children are collecting talahib grass, tall and silvery, often used to line the edges of rituals like this. One girl lays them down in a circular pattern around the bundle. Another boy traces his finger through ash at the circle's edge, writing a shape you don't recognize, a spiral that flows out, then back in again. The Bailon speaks, her voice like warm rain on a roof. Spirits, we are here. We carry what we cannot name. We leave it here. In leaf, in water, in ash. Quirky side fact. Some older albulary, folk healers, believed in sucking illnesses from the skin using bamboo tubes or even bare mouths, followed by burying the illness in a banana leaf package far from home. Because, hey, nobody wants an angry ghost of your showing up for leftovers. Your eyes drift shut again, only for a second, but when you open them, the bundle is gone. Buried? Burned? Maybe eaten by the moon. Who knows? The people begin to move again, now slower, sleepier. Some sway like branches, others stretch and murmur goodbyes. But the Babylon walks over and sits beside you, cross-legged, as if she's been waiting. She offers you a folded leaf. Inside, a tiny cake of something soft and sweet, coconut, rice, brown sugar. A night snack for your tired soul. You nibble, you instantly want 3 more. Then she begins to speak, not to you exactly, but through you. Her words tumble out like water over stones. There was a time, she says, when no one questioned the singing, when we knew that the plants heard us, that the wind answered back, that our bodies were not machines but gardens. And when a garden ached, we sang to it. We watered it with words. You glance around. A few others are listening now too, heads tilted like sunflowers. Now we say science must explain, she continues. We wait for proof in glass bottles and machines. We think we are smarter. But tell me, do your cities feel well fed? Does your joy echo back to you in their stone walls? You're not sure if this is a TED Talk or a bedtime story anymore, but you're leaning in either way. Historians still argue whether Babylons held real power. Were they medical healers, spiritual leaders, or political figures hidden in herbs and chants? Some insist they were feared. Others say they were sought after. But all agree, they were the keepers of something we've mostly forgotten. You are here because something in you remembered, the Babylon says, eyes gleaming. Even for one night. You breathe in, lemongrass, smoke, salt, soil. Breathe out, your name, your phone password, your to-do list. You're not entirely sure where your backpack is, or your shoes, or time. But none of it matters right now. The Babylon places one last leaf in your lap, pressed, flat, veined, beautiful. She doesn't say what it's for. Maybe it's a souvenir. Maybe it's a spell. Maybe it's just a leaf. Does it even matter? You press it between your hands. It's cool, alive, like it's breathing just a little. You think of all the leaves that came before this, floating, burning, bundled, eaten, a forest of healing in a handful of rituals. And for the first time in a long time, you don't feel like fixing anything. You just feel still, which is possibly the most magical thing of all. The night deepens, but you don't feel tired. Not in the usual way. It's more like your body is sinking into a slow, warm tide. Your thoughts spaced out like islands in the mist. Somewhere beyond the clearing, a single bamboo flute begins to play. The notes rise and fall like something half remembered from childhood lullabies or dreams you forgot to finish. The Babylon has disappeared again, as she tends to do. In her place, a young woman approaches. Her fingers are stained green. You're about to ask if she's okay when you realize she's been preparing healing pastes all night. Crushed leaves, ginger, and the root of some plant with a name you can't pronounce unless your tongue is double-jointed. She kneels beside you and holds up a bowl made from a polished coconut shell. Inside is a glistening dark green mixture, thick as jam, pungent as rain-soaked earth. She dips 2 fingers in and dabs it gently behind your ears. You flinch. It's cold. Sorry, she whispers. It helps with listening. You tilt your head like a confused dog. Listening to what? She shrugs and smiles. Whatever needs to speak. Somewhere behind you, someone chuckles. You turn, but see no one. Probably that prankster Forrest again. Mainstream fact time. Filipino healing rituals often involve poultices made from guava leaves, garlic, turmeric, or kamias. Some were applied to wounds or fevers, while others were used during chanting to draw out unseen forces believed to cause imbalance. It wasn't just symptom relief. It was negotiation with nature. The girl smears another streak of paste across your wrists. This one is for the parts of you that grasp too tightly, she says. You consider pretending you have no idea what she means. You also consider crying for no reason. Instead, you just say thanks. Nearby, a cluster of elders is forming. They sit in a loose circle, not quite symmetrical, with bowls of herbs and rolled palm leaves in their laps. One by one, they take turns singing, not full songs, but single verses, tiny spirals of melody. They're not harmonizing. They're not trying to impress. It sounds like a bunch of dreams humming at once. Baleko sa kabukiran, sings one. My house in the mountains. Tugnaw sa hangin, mainit sa kasing-kasing, says another. The wind is cold, but my heart is warm. It hits you. These aren't just folk songs. They're personal incantations, half memory, half offering. Each one floats up and hovers for a moment before dissolving into night. Quirky tidbit. Some early Visayan Babylons were known to compose spontaneous daya, short poetic praises sung during healing or spiritual rituals, often rhyming, always rhythmic. It's like freestyle rap met rainforest therapy. You're handed a rolled palm leaf by a man with kind eyes and zero shoes. He nods at you expectantly. Oh no, it's your turn, isn't it? You clear your throat. What are you even supposed to say? Dear forest, I forgot to water my plants last week, but I'm working on being a better person. Too late. They're all waiting. So with a shaky breath, you hum the first thing that comes to mind. A line from a lullaby, a few words from your grandmother, a made-up phrase about leaves knowing your secrets. It's weird. It's off-key. It feels like spilling your diary into the wind. And everyone nods, like you just recited Shakespeare. Good, says the kind-eyed man. Very itchy truth in that one. You blink. Don't you mean rich truth? He laughs. Itchy truths are the ones we hide. Well played, sir. Well played. Historians still argue whether these types of vocal rituals were standardized or improvisational. Were they encoded traditions, passed down with precision? Or were they more like jazz, fluid, changing with each performer and mood? Either way, they worked their way into the bones of the culture. Even today, echoes of these traditions linger in lullabies and chants passed down through families. As the circle continues singing, something changes. Not outside, but in you. There's a loosening, like old knots untying themselves, like shoulders finally dropping from your ears. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't solve everything. But it shifts something. You close your eyes again, just for a second, and find yourself underwater. Not really, but it feels like it. Warm, dark, and quiet, with the songs rippling over your skin like currents. You drift there, surrounded by wordless understanding. When you open your eyes, you're holding the palm leaf in both hands. It's still warm from someone else's fingers. You wonder how many wishes it has held before yours. How many secrets, how many itchy truths. A soft tap on your shoulder. It's the Babylon again, holding a bundle of bayabas leaves, guava. She presses them into your hand, along with a strip of woven red cloth. Take these, she says, for later, when the noise returns. You nod. You don't ask what she means. You already know. She steps back into the shadows, and someone douses the fire. Not all at once, but with careful handfuls of sand. Sparks flicker. Smoke swirls. The clearing falls into darkness and silence. But not the empty kind. The kind that breathes with you. Nate, the fire is out, but the warmth hasn't left. You're not even sure if you're fully awake anymore, or if you ever were. The forest seems to inhale around you. Leaves rustle with breath. Branches creak with memory. And somewhere in the darkness, something begins to hum again. Not music this time. Not voices or chanting. It's the steady tone of rubbing stones together, slow and circular, like a whetstone on old bone. You follow the sound. Well, your body does. Your mind feels like it's gliding a few inches behind, like a soft balloon tied to your shoulder with string. At the edge of another grove, a small circle of women sits cross-legged around a low stone basin. They're grinding herbs, bark, and dried flower petals together. Their hands move in quiet synchrony, their eyes half-lidded, as if in a trance. You crouch nearby, not wanting to interrupt, when one of them looks up. She's older. Her hair is silver, braided with vines. Her eyes? Not exactly glowing, but you bet half your snacks they've seen lightning up close and didn't blink. She pats the ground beside her. Come, she says. Tonight, we crush what no longer serves. You sit. Mainstream fact incoming. In pre-colonial Filipino healing practices, grinding leaves and bark into powders or poultices wasn't just chemistry, it was ceremony. The very act of preparing the medicine was as important as applying it. Some plants were believed to resist being useful unless approached with respect, song, or certain taboos, like not harvesting during a full moon or never cutting roots while angry. You reach for a rounded pestle made from river stone. Its weight settles into your palm with surprising comfort, like it recognizes you. The woman slides a few kulitis leaves into your bowl, along with slivers of turmeric root and a single star anise. Why this one, you ask, poking at the spiky star. Because it reminds the lungs they used to be stars too, she says. Huh. Okay then. You start to grind. The rhythm is soothing. Round and round, gentle pressure, fragrant oils rising like incense. Your brain for once goes quiet. No to-do lists, no childhood embarrassment reels. Just the earthy swirl of scent and texture and the low drone of the others doing the same. A young boy arrives, barefoot, holding a bundle of banana leaves tied with twine. He hands it off to one of the women, who nods in thanks and begins to unwrap it. Inside are small dolls, figures shaped from grass and vine, barely the size of your palm. They hold the hurt, she explains softly. We whisper into them, then we burn. That's not ominous at all. But when she places one in your hands, it feels right. Not creepy, not childish, just intentional. You hold the little woven figure close and whisper into its straw belly. You whisper things you didn't know needed air, grudges, confusion, little bruises of the heart that never fully healed. The doll is silent, but somehow it feels heavier afterward, as if it absorbed the ache without complaint. Quirky tidbit. Some indigenous Filipino groups believe that pain and illness could be transferred into surrogate objects, like leaf bundles, carved figures, or even clay pots. These pain catchers were then buried, burned, or floated down rivers to release the suffering. It was therapy meets origami meets bonfire. A rustling to your left. The Babaylan is back, of course she is, carrying a smoking coconut husk, its rim filled with glowing embers. She sets it in the center of the group. Without speaking, each person adds their doll to the fire. One by one, they curl and blacken. Tiny wisps of smoke rise like stories letting go of their endings. When it's your turn, you hesitate. It's just straw. It's just symbolism. It's you. You place the doll gently in the fire. It catches with a soft woof, and something in your chest unknots, so subtly you almost miss it. Historians still argue whether these rituals were based in shared belief or communal placebo. Was it the action itself that healed, or the community bearing witness to your release? But let's be real. When was the last time you felt genuinely seen, even while burning a tiny leaf person? Around you, the women begin to hum again. A different melody this time, slower like tides rolling in molasses. The tune wobbles between minor and major, never quite landing like it wants to keep you floating. And float you do. Your eyes close, but not in exhaustion. More like surrender, like letting the forest carry you for a while. You see flickers behind your eyelids, images not your own. A mother singing over her feverish child. A grandfather wrapping leaves around a swollen knee. A healer drawing symbols in ash, her breath weaving between syllables of forgotten gods. The dream montage fades. When you open your eyes again, the coconut husk is just ash and smoke. The air smells clean, not like something burned, but something finished. One of the women taps your wrist gently and hands you a folded banana leaf pouch. For dreams, she says. You nod, a little dazed. What's inside? She smiles. Only what you let in. Well, that's cryptic, but you tuck it into your belt anyway. Feels lucky. The pestles are set aside. The group begins to rise slowly, stretching, whispering thanks to the ground. Some kiss their palms and press them into the soil. Others just breathe deeply and leave. You remain still for a moment longer, your body humming, your thoughts loose and echoey. You're not healed, but you're healing, and that counts. You move through the trees now as if the path itself is remembering you. Your steps barely disturb the leaves. Even the cicadas hush for a moment when you pass, like they're listening. It's late, or maybe early. You've completely lost track of time, but time's a city thing. Out here, things run by pulse and leaf shadow. Your hand still tingles where the banana leaf pouch rests against your hip. Whatever's inside, it feels like it's breathing with you. Not fast, not slow, just steady, like it knows there's more to come. Ahead, you spot faint torchlight flickering between two towering balete trees. Their roots twist like the limbs of dancers frozen mid-step. You duck beneath a tangle of vines, and that's when the scent hits you. Burnt honey, crushed mint, earth after rain. There's another gathering, But this time the energy is different, less solemn, more electric. You hear laughter, soft and sudden, like someone remembering the punchline to a private joke. And in the center of the clearing, a young healer is preparing a ritual unlike the others you've seen. His tools, a bamboo tube, a bundle of wild leaves, and a single kulintang. That's right, a small traditional gong instrument, polished to a shine and resting on a wooden frame. He doesn't speak. He just begins to play. Light, precise taps echo through the trees. Notes drift upward like fireflies, each one hanging in the air before tumbling into the next. It's hypnotic. The leaves in his bundle tremble gently, even though there's no breeze. Here comes your mainstream historical fact. Among the Taboli, Manobo, and other Lumad groups, music was woven into healing practices. Gongs, bamboo flutes, and stringed instruments weren't just entertainment, they were medicine. They carried intention. Frequencies were believed to disrupt illness, realign energies, or call ancestral spirits for guidance. Basically, ancient surround sound for your soul. The healer motions you forward. You kneel beside him. He dips the leafy bundle into a bowl of water, shakes it gently over your head, and begins to wave it in slow circles around your shoulders. You'd expect this to feel goofy, being brushed by wet leaves while someone plays lullabies on a bronze saucer, but somehow it doesn't. It feels like being seen by something older than mirrors. The leaves move in time with the gong. The rhythm finds your heartbeat and slows it. You start to feel floaty again, but not detached, more like the way a balloon feels tied to a wrist. Secure, but light. Quirky tidbit. Some leaf bundles were selected based on sound. Yes, sound. Healers would crush or flap the leaves to see what tone they made when fanned. Noisy leaves like tanglad, lemongrass, or sambong were used to chase away illness. Imagine going leaf shopping like you're auditioning percussion instruments for a forest concert. The healer's gong work deepens. Lower notes now, slower. The kind that make your bones buzz just a little. You close your eyes and see waves, actual waves, crashing in slow motion against jagged cliffs. Not a memory. More like a sensation you've never had, but your ancestors did. Salt on your skin, sea spray in your throat. Someone chanting behind you, voice rising with the tide. When you open your eyes again, the healer has stopped. He's smiling. You left something behind, he says. You blink. Where? In your old breath. That's the thing about ancient rituals. Half of what's said is metaphor. The other half is still metaphor, but with incense. Still, your lungs do feel clearer, like you'd been carrying stale air for years and finally exhaled properly. Historians still argue whether these rituals were ever purely medicinal. Was the smoke antiseptic? Maybe. Did the vibration of music impact brain chemistry? Possibly. Was it all symbolic pageantry designed to trick the subconscious into healing itself? Could be. But here's the thing. Sometimes belief itself is a kind of medicine. The healer hands you a narrow strip of banana bark, rolled tightly and tied with vine. For your next illness, he says. But don't wait until you're dying to open it. You laugh. What if I'm just mildly annoyed? Then it works faster. You tuck it away. Your pockets are starting to feel like an ancient jungle pharmacy. Leaf pouches, straw dolls, bark scrolls. You're basically one gourd short of opening a pop-up wellness retreat. The crowd begins to hum again, not in unison, but in waves. Each voice enters when it wants, like fireflies blinking on their own schedule. It's not melody. It's atmosphere. A little girl dances at the edge of the firelight. Her hair is braided with ipil leaves, and her ankles are wrapped with tiny seed pod rattles. She spins without music, then stops, locks eyes with you, and says, "Your skin remembers when it was bark." Okay, creepy and cool. You nod respectfully. The fire is dying down. People begin to drift into the trees again, some alone, others in pairs. The healer sits cross-legged, sipping from a coconut shell and humming softly. You sit beside him. He offers the drink. It smells like fermented mango and bark. Is this safe? No. Cool. Let's do it. You sip. Your tongue tingles, your throat burns, your vision brightens by a full f-stop. Suddenly the stars don't seem distant. They seem attentive. You breathe out and it feels like a song you didn't know you'd been holding. Leaves above you rustle. The ballet tree groans softly. You swear it sounds like it's chuckling. You rest your back against its gnarled trunk and close your eyes again. The gong still echoes inside your chest. You don't dream, not this time. Instead, you wait. Because the next part, it's coming. And somehow, you know, you're ready. Open quote, open quote. You wake with a start. Not from a sound, not from a touch. Just that subtle, disorienting shift that tells you the forest has changed again. It's quieter now, but not empty. More like expectant. The balete tree behind you no longer groans. It creaks, almost politely, like it's repositioning in its sleep. You're not sure how long you were out, but the fire has shrunk to a sleepy glow, and a silver mist curls low over the ground like a cat stretching its spine. Your limbs feel lighter. Maybe that fermented mango bark cocktail had a little sorcery in it after all. You stand up and instinctively check your pouches. Leaf bundle? Still there. Banana bark scroll? Yep. Coconut cup? Gone. Probably absorbed into the dream dimension. Fair. As you step back into the path, you hear it. Soft singing. A lullaby, almost. It drifts through the mist like wind through hanging cloth. You follow. The voice is old but bright, raspy like river gravel, and singing in a dialect you don't recognize, but somehow understand. It leads you to a small, weathered hut with a nipa palm roof and driftwood walls that lean just slightly to the left. A tiny garden surrounds it, filled with blooming alabangbang, butterfly leaves, and sprigs of tanglad. The front porch is empty, except for the woman in the rocking chair. She's maybe 90, maybe 500. It's hard to tell. Her skin is sun-wrinkled, but her eyes are sharp. She's shelling something into a woven basket, possibly beans, possibly the dried tears of rude visitors. "Come," she says, without looking up. "You're late." You apologize, though you don't know what for. "I heard you were collecting," she says, gesturing toward your pouch. "But you're missing the song leaf now." She smiles like you just asked where the sky ends. "You know how to hum when you're nervous, yes?" You nod. "That's a song leaf working through you." She stands slowly, with the kind of grace that comes from decades of stretching under mango trees. From a shelf beside her rocking chair, she pulls a faded bundle of green leaves, each pressed flat between layers of parchment bark. "These are sung before they're used," she says. "Some are lullabies, some are battle cries, some are for calling lovers, or ghosts, sometimes both." Mainstream historical fact break. In many Filipino indigenous healing practices, especially among the Ifugao and Tagalog Babaylan traditions, leaves were not just medicinal, they were animated through song and chant. The healer would sing specific rhythms to activate a plant's memory before applying it to wounds or steeping it in water. The song was believed to awaken the spirit of the leaf itself. You sit cross-legged across from her. She hands you one of the dried leaves. It smells of lemongrass and sun. "This one's for grief," she says, "but not the loud kind, the soft one that builds behind the ribs." She starts humming. It's a circular tune, no beginning, no end, like standing in a puddle and watching ripples move outward in perfect rings. Your leaf warms in your palm. You hum with her, hesitantly at first, then louder. You don't know the melody, but somehow your breath does. Your chest vibrates, not uncomfortably but deeply, like a singing bowl echoing through your lungs. Quirky tidbit. In some mountain tribes, leaves were also inscribed with messages, especially when used in healing ceremonies. Secret ink made from root sap would only appear when steamed over fire or sung to in a certain pitch. Think of it like ancient invisible ink, except with karaoke settings. As you and the elder sing, she suddenly stops, mid-note. "There," she says, "it's listening." The leaf in your hand curls inward slightly. Not from dryness, but like it's stretching after a nap. "Now place it against your neck," she says. You obey. A slight tingle. Your throat clears, just a little. You hadn't even realized how tight it had felt, like you'd been swallowing too many unsaid things for too long. "Better?" she asks. You nod. "Good. You'll need that voice soon." Historians still argue whether this type of healing was metaphor, psychosomatic relief, or actual botanical resonance. Did the songs shift the frequency of the body? Was the placebo effect just early biotech? Or was it simply that attention, intention, and a bit of melody can sometimes do more than antibiotics? Regardless, your sinuses haven't felt this clear in months. You thank her, and she nods, folding her leaf bundle back into its bark sleeves. "Take this," she says, handing you a small waxed pouch. "Song leaves, for when you forget your own voice." You hesitate. "Is it dangerous?" She grins. "Only if you sing off-key." And she cackles as you turn to leave, the mist parting just slightly with each step. The path has shifted again. You pass vines that look suspiciously like they're swaying to your footsteps. A bird calls overhead, not a real bird, but something mimicking one. You wave at it. Ahead, the trees begin to thin. You catch a glimpse of something beyond, a clearing with stone circles, low fires, and people moving slowly in arcs, their arms raised. It feels ceremonial, like the final act of a play you've been in all along. The pouch in your hand feels heavier now, not in weight, but meaning. Leaves that remember lullabies, songs for the quiet parts of you. You hum, not a full song, just a fragment. The path hums back. By now, you've stopped pretending you're in control of the direction. The forest is clearly driving, and you're just the mildly suspicious passenger who keeps whispering, "I swear we passed that glowing mushroom twice." You step into the clearing you glimpsed earlier, and the air changes. It thickens, not unpleasantly, more like the warm steam from a cooking pot after the lid is lifted. You smell something earthy, floral, a little bit smoky, and definitely not FDA approved. It's the smell of ritual. The circle before you is made of weathered stones arranged in spirals, with bundles of dried herbs and flower petals between each arc. Several people stand within it, figures in loose robes of woven abaca, their heads wrapped in tapis and cloth dyed with indigo and soot. Some wear thick cords of beads, others just feathers tucked into braids. But it's what they're doing that draws your attention. They're moving together, not dancing exactly, but swaying, lifting their arms, exhaling rhythmically, like a prayer learned through the body. You step closer and notice one woman sitting at the center. Her eyes are closed. She sings, not in melody, but in tone, rising and falling like a wind instrument made of lungs and memory. You hear no words, but you feel them. It's a call, an invitation, a lullaby for something invisible but listening. And without asking, someone hands you a leaf fan. It's long and stiff, made from dried banaba leaves stitched together with coconut twine. You grip it gently. Then you realize everyone's holding one. They move the fans in arcs, circles, figure eights, sweeping invisible energy across the clearing. So naturally, you do the same. Mainstream historical fact. In pre-colonial Philippines, healing rituals often involve group participation, especially for illnesses thought to come from emotional or spiritual imbalance. Leaf fans weren't just decorative, they helped direct healing energy, cool the patient, and symbolically sweep away bad spirits. The albulario, or bailan, would lead, but the whole community joined in. The singing grows louder, though it never becomes shouting. It stays just under fever pitch, a simmering note, layered like fog over water. Then the woman in the center opens her eyes. They're milky white, like her pupils are somewhere far away. She reaches for a bowl beside her and draws a circle on her forehead with mashed leaves, a dark green, almost black paste. One by one, the others follow. Someone gestures for you to do the same. You dip 2 fingers into the cool pulp and draw a shape on your own brow. Your skin tingles, first cold, then warm. Your ears pop. For a moment, it's like your senses tilt. The trees hum, the stones vibrate. Your fan hand glides easier, lighter, like it's not just made of flesh and bone, but breath and memory. Quirky tidbit. Certain indigenous healers believe that some leaves, like alabungbong or sambong, carried not only physical medicine, but ancestral echoes. Rubbing them on the body while chanting could help tune the person's energy to the memory of ancient balance. Think of it as frequency therapy, if frequency was powered by jungle wisdom and zero Wi-Fi. The ritual shifts now. The fan rhythm slows. The woman in the center begins to speak, not loudly but clearly. "Who has forgotten their name?" she asks. Someone to your left raises their hand. The group nods. The fan movement resumes, slower this time, more intentional. The leaf song starts again, and you realize this isn't just healing of illness. This is healing of identity, of disconnection, of people unthreaded from their language, their stories, their roots. Historians still argue whether these collective ceremonies were medical, spiritual, or both. Some insist it was placebo. Others suggest ancient Filipinos may have understood psychosomatic healing centuries before modern science caught up. But no one disputes the emotional power of being seen like this, held, sung to, and fanned with sacred wind. The person who raised their hand begins to cry. No one shushes them. No one fixes anything. They just keep singing and fanning and standing in quiet witness. Eventually, the tears stop. The fans rest. The woman in the center nods. Now, she says, we dance. You're thinking, wait, we just emotionally exorcised a soul ghost, and now we're hitting the floor? But yes, apparently the final step in this healing ritual is joy. Music starts, not instruments, but mouth sounds, rhythms made by slapping thighs, snapping fingers, clapping palms. One woman produces a rhythm from 2 pieces of polished bamboo, tapping out a beat that dares you not to move. And you move. You laugh, actually. Your legs do something ancestral. Your arms lift. Your heart, still catching up, says, okay, fine, we're dancing now. Around you, strangers swirl like old friends. The fire crackles. The night listens. Your leaf fan flutters in your grip, forgotten but still useful, catching the wind of your momentum. And in that moment, you're not a tourist in a myth. You're a thread in the fabric, woven tightly with leaves, song, and sweat. You don't remember how long the dancing lasts, long enough for you to forget the weight you carried in, long enough for your feet to grow their own roots, long enough for the paste on your forehead to dry, then flake away, like a husk leaving behind a healed kernel. When the music finally softens, you're breathless, not from exhaustion, but from awe. A young boy approaches and hands you a small folded square of bark. Inside is a dried leaf charm, a real one this time, pressed flat, wrapped with a strand of horsehair, and sealed with beeswax. For protection, he says, then scampers off like he didn't just drop a portable talisman into your hand. You tuck it safely into your pouch, beside the song leaves and banana scroll and everything else you've accidentally collected on this dream walk. The group begins to disperse, some back into the forest, some just fading, like mist returning to the ground. And the woman in the center, she meets your gaze, smiles. You've still got one more stop, she says. You nod. You don't know where it is, but your feet do. You leave the clearing in a kind of daze, the good kind. The kind where your brain feels a few seconds behind your body, still humming the tune from a place your ears can't reach anymore. There's a smell of crushed leaves on your fingertips, a smear of dried green still clinging to your brow. If anyone saw you right now, they'd think, yup, that person just got spirit fanned into another dimension. And they'd be right. The trail ahead isn't lit, exactly, but it glows, dimly, subtly, like moss soaked in starlight. You follow it downhill, then sideways, then into a series of narrow ravines. You duck beneath vines and cross a log slick with dew. Every so often, a leaf brushes your shoulder or an unseen insect buzzes too close for comfort. Eventually, you hear it. A rhythmic swish, swish, swish. It sounds like water, but it isn't. It's leaves being swept by hand in great broad motions. You round a final curve and enter a wide circular space lined with woven mats. In the center sits an elderly man, his back straight despite his age. He wears only a simple wrap around his waist and a headband made of dyed rattan. In his hand is a massive leaf broom, its bristles long, green, and fragrant. He gestures for you to sit. You do. He doesn't speak, not at first. Instead, he begins to sweep the air around you. Not the ground, not your body, just the space you occupy. Like he's cleaning invisible cobwebs made from old fears and leftover arguments. You feel foolish for a moment. Then you feel light. Mainstream historical fact. In traditional Filipino healing, pangalap, or energetic sweeping, was practiced by older shamans using large brooms made of tanglad, lemongrass, or kugan grass. These weren't used to hit or scrub, but to fan spiritual interference off a person's aura. The sweeping often followed a diagnostic ritual where the healer read signs in the patient's sweat, skin tone, or even dreams. The old man begins to hum. His voice is like gravel and honey, low, coarse, but oddly soothing. Each sweep of his broom comes with a pulse of that hum, and each pass feels like it's brushing away something you've been carrying in secret. Old guilt, anxiety, doubt. You close your eyes and let it happen. And while you're in that half-sleep state, you hear another sound. Crack, snap, sss. You peek and see the man lighting a bundle of dried leaves, lagundi if your nose is guessing right. The smoke curls upward, thin and silver. He waves the broom through it, then directs the scented vapor toward your chest, your head, your hands. Quirky tidbit. Ancient Filipinos believed that smoke from healing leaves could confuse malevolent spirits trying to attach themselves to the sick. Some healers even claimed they could hear tiny screams as the smoke reached the spirit realm, though to be fair, that might have been just the sound of sap bubbling in the fire. You start to laugh, but then choke on a little leaf smoke, So you stop laughing very quickly. The old man smiles. Ah, he says, voice like rust and rhythm. You're lighter now. You nod, and weirdly, you are. He beckons you closer. From a pouch at his waist, he takes out a folded cloth. Inside, a mixture of crushed herbs and fine powder. With careful fingers, he pinches a bit and rubs it between his palms. Then he claps. Just once. Loud, sharp, it echoes through the glade like a gunshot made of eucalyptus and eucalyptus alone. Now, he says, your breath. You inhale. He claps again. Again. You inhale again, deeper this time. And on your exhale, he does not clap. Instead, he leans forward, presses a leaf gently to your forehead, and whispers something in a language older than rice paddies. Your whole body feels draped in quiet. Historians still argue whether these healing claps were symbolic, diagnostic, or psychological triggers meant to engage the body's stress response and reset it. Some say it was rhythm-based medicine. Others insist it was theatrical placebo. But everyone agrees, when timed right, that clap hits something primal. You thank him. He nods. Leave your fear here, he says. It doesn't like to travel alone. With that, he returns to sweeping, this time the mat, the stones, the very ground you sat upon. Like he's cleaning up after your spiritual shedding. You take your cue and rise, and just as you turn to go, he tosses something at you. It's a small bundle of leaves tied with a thin red cord. For the road, he says. You look at the bundle, then back at him. But he's already focused on the ground again, sweeping the air, singing to the earth, like you never even arrived. You tuck the bundle into your pouch. Now it's really full. Leaf charms, bark scrolls, a pressed talisman, the lingering scent of smoke and song. You follow a new path, this one narrower but brighter, and somewhere ahead you hear it again, singing. But this time the voice is yours. You don't remember starting to sing. That's the strange part. You're just walking, feet brushing against soft moss, hand grazing the bark of trees that seem to lean towards you. And suddenly there it is. A low, murmuring tune vibrating up from your chest. It has no lyrics, at least none you know, but the melody feels old, like it's been passed through 1,000 throats and finally landed in yours. And weirdly, it fits. It swells and dips in perfect time with your steps, rising when you breathe deep and falling when the forest grows quiet again. You try to stop for a second, out of self-consciousness maybe, but your body resists. It's like trying to stop a sneeze mid-sneeze or pretending you weren't just crying during a sad dog movie. Yeah, not happening. Eventually, the trail spills out into a natural amphitheater, half-circle terraces cut into the hillside, covered with woven mats and huge curling leaves shaped like sleeping dragons. There are people here, women mostly, all in wrapped skirts and wide-shouldered blouses dyed in earthy reds and turmeric yellows. They're seated in a wide ring, passing a wooden bowl of water from hand to hand. Some are humming. One is swaying side to side with her eyes closed. Another rubs two smooth stones together, producing a soft rhythm that underpins the group's voices like a heartbeat made of marble. You've just wandered into a chanting ritual, and they do not seem surprised. In fact, they motion for you to join. No questions asked, no forms to fill, no waiver disclaimers about accidentally summoning river spirits with attitude problems. Just, come sit and sing what's inside you. Mainstream historical fact, Filipino Babylon and Catalonan, priestesses, shamans, and ritual specialists often use chants called ulalim or dandaniub to initiate healing or spiritual ceremonies. These chants weren't memorized scripts. They were fluid, changing based on the illness, the patient, or even the weather. The words could be ancient, made up, or pulled straight from the healer's emotions. You sit cross-legged. The woman beside you gives a gentle nod, then leans over and smears your cheeks with a mixture of charcoal and crushed basil leaves. You flinch a bit, because face paint always looks better on Instagram than in real life, but the moment her fingers touch your skin, your own voice changes. It grows louder, more confident. You don't understand the words. They sound like wind through bamboo, like water trying to imitate language, but they feel like yours. Quirky tidbit. Some rituals incorporated not only chanting and leaf medicine, but mimicry of animal sounds, like the croak of frogs to summon rain, or the hiss of snakes to drive out fever. One particularly bold healer claimed she could chicken cluck a toothache away. Spoiler, she probably could. Your hands start moving too. You rub your palms together, then trace patterns on your legs, your arms, the ground around you. You press your fingertips to the base of your throat, then your belly, then back to your chest. Each motion aligns with a note or a breath, as if your body remembers a sequence your mind never learned. The circle of women begins to harmonize. It's not Western harmony. It's layered, looped like 10 rivers braiding together before they reach the sea. The song grows and grows until it's no longer music. It's a force, a current. You feel it under your ribs, pulling at your lungs. Historians still argue whether these chants were therapeutic or trance-inducing. Some see them as emotional release. Others insist they invited ancestral possession. There's even a theory that the vibrations help break up energy blockages, kind of like spiritual Tetris. You hit a high note, not on purpose, mind you, and the whole circle pauses. Then they laugh, not mockingly, like delighted aunties who just heard their niece belt her first karaoke solo without crying. The bowl is passed to you. Inside is water, clear, flecked with bits of mint and little purple blossoms. You dip your fingers in, then splash it over your head like you're baptizing yourself into whatever this is. And again, you feel it, like the leaf smoke, like the sweeping, like that clap that echoed through your lungs. Something unsticks, something lifts. The woman on your left whispers, "That was for the part of you that never learned how to cry." You don't ask her how she knew. Instead, you pass the bowl to the next person and keep singing. After a while, minutes, maybe hours, who knows, the song begins to fade. Not stop, just fade, like a tide receding, or a dream that knows how to let go. One by one, the women stand. They stretch, they smile, they shake out their arms like they've just come out of the world's gentlest CrossFit class. One of them hands you a bundle of fresh tajang leaves. These are soft, shaped like teardrops, and smell faintly of pine and citrus. "Place these under your pillow," she says. "They'll remember the song." You nod and slip them into your satchel, which is now approaching magical junk drawer status. As you step off the last terrace, a hush falls again, and in that silence, you realize something. You don't just feel better. You feel heard. Like every aching thought in your chest got turned into a melody and sung back into balance. You walk quietly now. Not because you're sad, but because the world suddenly feels a little louder. Like someone turned the volume up on the wind, the birds, the hush of faraway rivers. And honestly, it's beautiful. You let the sound carry you forward, leaf bundle in hand, face streaked with charcoal and basil, voice still tingling from the song you didn't know you needed to sing. It takes a while before you even realize your feet are bare again. The path under you has shifted, softer now, slick with dew and scattered petals that feel like damp silk between your toes. Somewhere along the way your sandals must have come off, but it doesn't matter. The earth beneath you is warm, almost pulsing, like it's breathing in time with your steps. You pause, listening, no drums this time, no chanting. Just the faint swish of leaves rubbing together high above and the steady beat of your own heart, which at this point has fully committed to the forest's rhythm. You've gone from skeptical traveler to accidental apprentice of the old ways, and weirdly, you're not even surprised anymore. The air smells different again. This time it's not smoke or mint or rain-drenched bark. It's sweet, like crushed guava and warm sugar, like the memory of childhood desserts you can't quite name. You follow the scent until you reach a clearing glowing with soft amber light. No fire, just that golden hue that sometimes filters through thick jungle at dusk and makes everything look enchanted. You step in and nearly trip over a woven mat and a cluster of banana leaves. They're spread out like scrolls, some flat, some folded, some tied in neat bundles with thin vine. And sitting cross-legged among them is a man. Old, wrinkled, draped in a red cloth so faded it might once have been a carnival. He doesn't look up, just keeps working, humming to himself and scribbling something onto the leaves with a blackened stick. You ease closer. It takes a second before your brain catches up to what he's doing. Writing on leaves. Actual writing, not hieroglyphs or doodles. Careful, practiced symbols that run edge to edge across the smooth surface. The lines are thin and precise, and somehow the leaf doesn't tear or smear. It's like watching calligraphy on living paper. Mainstream historical fact. Pre-colonial Filipino cultures used baybayin, an indigenous script, to record everything from poetry to contracts. While most writing was done on bamboo, bark, or stone, some accounts suggest that banana leaves were also used in temporary rituals, especially when the words weren't meant to last forever. The man pauses. Still without looking up, he gestures to an empty mat across from him. You sit. He finishes one last swirl on the leaf, blows gently to dry it, then finally lifts his head. His eyes are cloudy, almost silver. You have something to say, he says, voice creaky but kind. But you don't know how to say it. You blink. Well, yeah. Of all the things you expected to be called out on tonight, emotional constipation wasn't on your bingo card. He nods as if he heard your inner monologue. Good, we will use the leaves. And just like that, he hands you a strip of bright green banana leaf, still moist and warm from the sun. A sharpened twig follows. You look at him. He nods again. Write what the body remembers. No pressure, right? You hesitate. The twig feels alien in your hand, too light, too natural. You half expect it to burst into flower just to mess with you. But slowly, awkwardly, you begin. The script doesn't come easy. You don't even know the letters. But your hand moves anyway, sketching little shapes and lines, curves and dots that feel weirdly familiar. You write your mother's lullaby, your grandfather's joke about ticklish ghosts, the name of a person you once loved and never quite let go. Each leaf fills with tiny script, dense and crooked and utterly nonsensical. And yet, as you write, you feel lighter. Not like floating, more like your bones are shedding invisible weights you didn't know they were carrying. Quirky tidbit. Some healing rituals use leaves not just as writing tools, but as emotional sponges. Healers believe that certain plants could hold sorrow, fear, or confusion. Once the patient wrote or whispered their pain into the leaf, it was buried, burned, or cast into water, symbolically releasing the energy back to nature. The old man nods as you hand over the last of your leaves. He doesn't read them. Instead, he arranges them into a spiral pattern on the ground, leaf over leaf, word over word, then lights a small bundle of dried grass in the center. Flame curls up, slow, soft, non-threatening. The leaves blacken and twist, their words vanishing in coils of smoke that rise gently into the canopy like breath from a sleeping giant. Historians still argue whether this kind of ritual was therapeutic, symbolic, or purely spiritual. Some say the act of writing had medicinal power. Others argue it was simply a cathartic theater of the soul, a way to visualize and process what the heart couldn't speak aloud. You watch until the last flicker dies. The man smiles. Now you can rest, he says, and the leaves will carry the rest. You nod. No clever response. No internal snark. Just the warmth of a fire still buzzing in your chest. He waves you off, already reaching for a fresh leaf, humming again. You rise, brushing ash from your lap, and slip back into the trees. The path is darker now, but not in a scary way. More like the forest has tucked itself in, ready to sleep. You pass under a branch heavy with fireflies, their tiny lights flickering like lazy stars. You don't rush, you just walk. The leaves behind you curl into themselves. The ones ahead flutter gently and welcome. You don't need directions anymore. Only forward, only softer, only deeper. It's almost like the forest knows this is the end. The air thickens, not with heat or mist, but with a kind of ceremonial stillness. Like every creature, every vine, every listening spirit has gathered to witness this last part of your journey. No applause, no final boss battle, just a hush, a reverent quiet that drapes over your shoulders like a woven blanket still warm from the loom. You step into another clearing, and this time it's a circle of women, 12 of them, seated in a ring, each one older than the last. Their skin is lined like bark, their hair a cloud of white and silver, some tucked under kerchiefs, others left wild and halo-like. They're dressed in soft fabrics, undyed, loosely stitched, smelling faintly of lemongrass and crushed ginger. You're hit with a sudden wave of familiarity, like you've seen these faces before in dreams or old family photos, or the folds of your grandmother's elbow. One of them beckons you forward. Another hands you a leaf, again, but this one isn't for writing. It's been smeared with something dark and glossy, almost like ink but thicker, resinous. She dabs her thumb into it and smudges it across your forehead. Then both cheeks, then your sternum. It's cool and sticky and smells faintly like earth after a storm. She nods once and gestures for you to sit in the middle of their circle. So, you do. No witty commentary now. Not even a quiet complaint. You just sit cross-legged, palms open, like a kid waiting for a story or a spell, or maybe both. The women begin to hum, not words, just sound, low and soft and rounded like river stones rolling against each other. It starts with one, then two, then all 12, blending together into a chord that somehow feels older than the language itself. You feel it ripple through your chest like a second heartbeat. Mainstream historical fact. In many pre-colonial Filipino healing traditions, women known as babaylan led the rituals. Often considered spiritual intermediaries, they used singing, chanting, and rhythmic repetition to create altered states of consciousness for themselves and the person being healed. This wasn't just performance, it was a technology of the spirit. Your head tilts back without meaning to. The stars have appeared, small at first, then swelling as your eyes adjust to the dark sky above. No moon tonight, just the crisp shimmer of constellations unfamiliar to you, flickering like someone up there is deciding which ones to keep. One of the women pulls out a bundle of herbs, not burned this time, but crushed and rubbed between her palms. She leans forward and blows the scent into your face. It's mint and basil, and something sharp you can't name, and it clears your mind like flipping a switch. Another woman starts to sing. It's not sweet. It's not particularly tuneful. It's raw, gravelly, like a lullaby sung underwater by someone who hasn't spoken in years. You don't understand the words, but you feel them. Like your ribs are translating for you. Like your body knows the language your brain forgot. Quirky tidbit. In some island provinces, it's believed that singing to leaves before applying them to the body activates their healing energy. These aren't your average Spotify hits. Each plant has a song, a rhythm, a sound frequency it likes. And no, you won't find that on a wellness blog. It's oral tradition passed from grandmother to granddaughter, whispered leaf to leaf. The song grows louder, and then suddenly softer again. The circle tightens. The women don't move closer physically, but the energy draws in, folding around you like a net spun of harmony and memory. Historians still argue whether these healing ceremonies were mostly psychological, symbolic, or held genuine medicinal power. Skeptics say it was the placebo effect wrapped in pretty singing. Others insist that when you take centuries of intuition, plant knowledge, and emotional intelligence and bundle it in ritual, you end up with something stronger than any textbook cure. Your hands feel warm. No, hot. You glance down, and for one dizzy second, you swear your palms are glowing. Not on fire, not radioactive, just humming with golden light like you've absorbed every note, every touch, every breath of this forest journey, and now it's spilling back out through your skin. You blink. The circle fades. You're not sure how long it's been. The women are gone. Or maybe they were never really there. The only evidence is the echo of songs still humming faintly in your ears and the lingering tingle on your skin where the leaf resin dried. You stand slowly, careful not to disturb the moss beneath you. There's no path this time, no torches or tunnels or flower trails, just you facing the trees. You step forward anyway, one pace, then another, and something gives way, not in the forest, but inside you. The last knot loosens, the final bit of stubborn fear or doubt or city grit melts out through your souls and sinks into the earth like rainwater. You're lighter, brighter, not fixed, exactly, but maybe, finally, healing. So now, as the forest recedes behind you and the night settles soft around your shoulders, let it all fall away. Let the memory of songs drift like mist, their syllables curling into the quiet corners of your mind. Feel the weight of those centuries-old leaves slipping from your hands, fluttering gently down into the earth where they belong. You've carried them far enough. Your breath slows. It moves not just in your chest now, but deep, deeper than bones, deeper than dreams. Inhale. The air smells faintly of crushed ginger and damp earth. Exhale, like you're releasing something you didn't even know you held. The wind is no longer cold. It sighs against your skin, wraps around your ankles, and nudges you forward just a little, just enough. The trail behind you is gone. The future ahead? It doesn't matter, not right now. Right now, you float. No effort, no noise, just you nestled between breath and night, between the remembered and the imagined. That's the magic, isn't it? Healing doesn't always come with thunder or trumpets or viral epiphanies. Sometimes it's a whisper, a leaf on your skin, a grandmother's voice in a language you don't speak but understand anyway. And here, in this last moment before dreams take over, you know this. You're not alone. Not in this world. Not in the ones behind or ahead. You carry them all in you, the songs, the spirits, the stories. So let them sing you to sleep now. Let the hum lull you leaf by leaf, note by note, into that deeper kind of rest. You've earned it. Sleep well, traveler.